Hi, everyone. Welcome. It is so great to see you all.
Hello.
How are you doing today? It is awesome to see a bunch of you already having a chat in the side. We are really excited that you are joining us today. This is a topic we're very excited to talk about. We've been thinking about it for a long time, and the team has been working really hard on this kind of product and how it's going to serve you, particularly as professional designers, really well. It's a bit of a new space for Squarespace. There's a bingo card for how
Yeah.
many times we say space today. But we are really excited to have this discussion and to hear your feedback as well. Like we said, it is this kind of new concept of using templates as a professional designer. Some people are doing it already, but not a lot. So we're really excited to hear your thoughts. Let us know. Couple of housekeeping things. I should probably introduce myself. I'm Hannah.
I'm Nick. We're both married and both co-founders.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun together, but I think there's a few of you that know us already. And if you don't, welcome. We're really excited to dive in. There are some panels to the side on Crowdcast here, so you should be able to see the chat. Hopefully you've introduced yourself, let us know where you're coming from. The next one down is the Q&A panel. We'll try and leave a good amount of time at the end for your questions, so do go ahead and chuck them in there. There is a little bug at the moment in the software we're using where we can't move your questions from the chat into the Q&A. So in order to make sure we don't miss those, please try and put them in that question and answer panel, and we will get to them. If we have too many questions and we aren't able to answer them all live, we will endeavor to email you. So just go ahead and put as many in there as you would like. The next piece down is the polls. So there are a couple of polls in there that are live already. If you want to go ahead and check in your answers, it's going to give us a little bit more understanding of some of the things that you might be doing or feeling, or what kind of level you're at using templates already, and that will just help us offer you better advice and information today.
Yeah, and a very informal thing. Welcome to our studio. I feel like we've always been recording things in this place over here. This is not an artificial background. This is a real plant. I can touch it and everything. It's like it moved. So I think Michael said he's even jealous of the background. I think we're jealous. It's pretty cool every time we look at it, how cool this place is. Sometimes it's a fun space just to sneak away and do some work. So this is our little studio we've made to make tutorials, these webinars, and onboarding chats with our creators, etc. So yeah, we're really excited to invite you into our house. So it's very cool. And yes, someone noticed the cool camera. We have a very exciting new camera, which is basically a really fancy web camera that plugs into our computer, and it makes us look shiny and cool and professional. Right. So
I don't know anyone needs to see me in this high def this early in the morning though. So
no, but we have a nice blurred background, so that's cool. Some bokeh effect. Cool. So to kick us off, really, I wanted to kind of share a little bit about where my passion as a previous web designer. I say previous because I used to make websites for clients, but since starting SquareKicker 5 years ago, we kind of transitioned to that side of the business out because you guys are so much more demanding. No. Probably actually our priority. We didn't want to give the priority towards our local clients making websites, so we have focused on making SquareKicker tools for you guys as web designers. However, want to share a little bit of a story to kind of set the scene where this is coming from. So when I started off making websites as a designer, I didn't really know how to design all that well, to be honest. So I actually looked at a lot of other websites, some Pinterest, some different templates are out there. Like, cool, like I could use these to kind of start my projects out because design was kind of new for me. I just started to code as well, so I wasn't quite sure how this thing was going to work. So I dipped into templates. So templates was a way to quickly, easily put a website together, add a few tweaks, add a few customizations, add a few splashes of code. And sure enough, I had a pretty good looking website that I kind of designed, but I had to help to get there. Now, as I got further down the road, I started thinking, oh, I should stop using templates because I have to be a real designer, and I want people to know that I can actually design, because I had this imposter syndrome inside of me that had to tell myself that in order to be a real designer, I had to start with a blank canvas. The problem was every time I started with a blank canvas, it just didn't feel right. Like I couldn't create nothing or something out of nothing. And so I just kept using templates, but tried to hide the fact that I was using templates because I want people to know, until I met a couple people who owned agencies, like large agency teams. And they go, why would you not start with a template? Like everyone's doing it. In fact, why would you have to recreate the same thing over and over and over again if you have a starting point that you can start from? So that gave me a lot of confidence to say, actually, I can use templates. In fact, maybe I should use templates. And I started to justify it, saying, now it's going to take the client a little bit quicker and cheaper to get there. If I had to create everything from scratch, I'm going to have to charge the client so many more hours to get to that baseline. Even if the template was $1,000, it's going to be so much cheaper than me having to build everything from scratch, especially if there was custom elements that I had to learn how to code myself or research on doing, or go and buy these third-party plugins. So the fact that I can just start with this baseline and tweak it from there enabled me to build a business really quickly and actually find clients that I could attract really quickly because I actually had these really cool offerings. So that's the baseline. So I wanted to kind of bring that in the front of our discussion because there's a lot of misconceptions around how this is used on Squarespace, because it already exists on platforms like WordPress and Shopify and Webflow and Wix and just about any web builder on the market. Squarespace doesn't really have a template store until now, really. But however, in the past, it's never really had this ecosystem of templates being the acceptable way of making a website. WordPress was obvious because it was so complicated. You needed a template to even get off the ground. Even WordPress has its own WordPress template to get you off the ground. But Squarespace has these starter templates, and most designers say, well, I don't want to use that. Delete all the demo pages and start from scratch. And there's this theory, this is intimidation as designers, that that's what you should be doing. And I want to push that a little bit in front of you, saying, what would it look like for you to actually have a client project that you actually purchase a template and actually gave them the ability to choose which template and that you can tweak it to the next level. And that's maybe a better way of actually producing quality work faster and more achievable, but actually being really transparent with that with your clients. And actually that's a pretty acceptable thing, because at the end of the day, the clients don't care about your imposter syndrome. They care about the output and the work you're doing. As Hannah once said on the Circle Live.
I know, what do we always say about imposter syndrome?
No one's got time for that.
No one's got time for it. You don't have time for it, and your client doesn't have time for it. It doesn't serve anyone.
Yeah. So anyways, from that story, I want to hand over to Hannah, who is going to help us kind of look at the industry shift and what that looks like.
Yeah, you can probably start to get little hints of the fact that Nick and I are quite passionate about this topic. And one of the reasons is we feel like there's been these benefits on other platforms for ages. You know, there's like theme forests that you can go to, and there's just thousands of templates, and there's these really great starting off points if you're using other platforms. But obviously we know and love Squarespace for so many reasons. It's amazing to hand off to client. There's an enormous amount of reasons why we love Squarespace. And so we feel like it's time for Squarespace designers to have the same benefits that other designers get using other platforms. So that is where we're going to get a little like soapboxy today, when we're going to sit here and say, like, we are super passionate about empowering you in your business so that you can live in a way you want to. And that's why you'll see us getting a little excited and maybe a little, I don't know, what do you say? Highly strung?
Charismatic?
Loud?
Yeah.
Loud about
American.
this topic.
Be more American. I love it. I'll use a bit of dose of American.
Yeah. But I think, like Nick kind of spoke about already, it's really important that we reframe the way that we use these tools as professionals. We had similar discussions when we first put out the SquareKicker extension, where people were really concerned about using it or showing people that they were using it, because they're like, well, what if people don't think I'm a real designer if I use these tools? And it's the same with that imposter syndrome, right? That doesn't serve anyone. Like, you're not helping yourself. You're not able to work with all the tools that are available to you. And at the end of the day, your client doesn't really care, so long as the outcome for them is what they're after. They just want to see that that website that serves them and their business really well. So let's use the full tool bucket that we've got to kind of make that happen for you. We wanted to kind of talk about this idea that templates aren't a shortcut. They are a strategic tool for scaling your business. So if that is all that you hear from us today, make that be the thing. Templates aren't a shortcut. They're a great tool that you can put in your bucket.
Yeah, awesome. So to start us off on what SquareKicker templates are, and maybe what makes them unique to the template ecosystem, because we saw a problem at the very start of this journey, and it was understanding designers like yourself saying, what do you need in your business? And so we had lots of interviews. Some of you on the call were probably there, and you all said something to the degree of, we were looking for passive income, a way to scale our business. So we had a thought around how we can make templates work with SquareKicker. because the reality is if you use SquareKicker on a website and then you duplicate that website, it's not the same website anymore. It's actually a clone. It's a copy, right? So every single image is the same, text is the same, but the IDs and the background of that website is different. It's a completely different website. So all the code that was created with SquareKicker on that first website doesn't work on the new one. So people kept asking, how can I make templates with SquareKicker? How can I bring my code with me? So we could have thought about a lot of different ways to kind of make that happen with some sort of weird transfer and push the code around and duplicate the code as well. But actually what we want to do was solve a problem with how do we actually handle passive income, because people weren't making templates because they didn't want to make templates. They just didn't have the time to run the business side of things, which is the hardest part, which is the duplicating websites, it's the handoff, it's the customer support, it's a technical support, it's all those intricate details about running a template business. And there's courses you can take on to do that. There's people you can hire to run your administration for you. But we thought if we can handle that as a problem and solve that, and the template side of actually receiving and getting a template to use, we can actually support both the end user and the designer. So the template store exists for designers, not for us. It's for actually you as designers who are wanting to sell templates. We have a long list of creators we are slowly working through. There must be over 50 now of people we've onboarded. The list is large. It's close to 600 or 700, I think. So we're slowly working through that list. And once you get on board as a creator, you build those templates, you become vetted and you're onto it. So when you've created those templates, they get listed on the store, and then it's kind of hands off. What that means for the end user is when you want to come along to purchase a template, you don't have to wait for emails to come through with your website. You don't have to wait for contributor access. You don't have to wait for some other kind of weird tutorial on how to use a custom code. It's just instant. So that's the beautiful thing about it. So I wanted to show you through what that looks like and how when you buy a template, what that whole process looks like to getting a template installed on any website that you want to get started on, whether it's a new one or refreshing an existing site. So let's just share a screen here. And to do that, I'm going to share my whole screen over on here. And I'm going to share my dashboard. And I'm going to unpin myself down the corner. Great. Now we've got this little dashboard here. This is my personal dashboard, by the way. So I have a lot of fun, exciting websites in here in my designer plan. So I'm just going to go over to my templates tab. Now, you might have seen this tab in your dashboard, but it's empty. This is what it looks like when you've purchased a template or a few. I've got 4 purchase templates in my dashboard. So I have this one down here called Nora, which I've just purchased, and I want to connect it to a website now. I can connect this to a new website, a brand new one I've just made, maybe a blank website, or I can connect it to an existing website that's already on Squarespace. It could also already be an existing website that already has SquareKicker on it that you want to add a template to. So very flexible. So I already have a website set up. So I'm just going to connect it to that existing site. So I'm going to hit connect. And then here's my site here, my new website project. Let's connect to there. And like normally how SquareKicker connects to a website, it's very similar. You're going to get this connecting process, and then away we go. Right, so now I want to head to my installation process. This is a really exciting point. So you don't have to have a subscription on SquareKicker to use a template. This is important because the template is a one-off purchase. You don't need an ongoing subscription. However, you get to have 30 days, if you don't already have a subscription, to use the extension for that 30 days for free. So it's like a free 30-day SquareKicker built into the website, the template purchase rather. That means that you can use SquareKicker to all its greatness. At the end of the 30 days, it will turn off, but all the customizations you made for that template will stay there. If you want to continue using the SquareKicker extension to make your custom website more intricate and more custom, you can reactivate that with a subscription and then of course cancel it whenever you are finished with it and hand off to your client, just as you normally would with SquareKicker. Let's continue with installation and copy my installation script and open my code injection area. And this is where the fun magic happens. I'm really excited to show you this because it has been a lot of hard work to get this to work properly. So I'm going to paste that in my code injection area, hit save. And then if you would have seen the video, you would have seen something very similar to this, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be it's installing, and then we get a gold star, and then whoa, we get this really cool full screen modal installation process. So what this means is says you're ready, set, go. What's going to happen when you click install? It's going to change your fonts. Excuse me. Your animations, your spacing, your colors, your buttons, your forms, anything that was set with site styles is going to inherit the new template site styles. Now we're looking at in the future adding a custom installation process so you can install the template without changing your colors or without overriding your fonts. But at the moment, this is what's going to happen. So if you don't want that to happen, spin up a duplicate version of the site or start a brand new one and then install it onto there. But if you just want to install it on an existing site to work in the background of your site, it will change these settings here, just so you're aware. So we're going to install this here, and then we're just going to sit and watch some really exciting AI generated text show up on the screen to keep you entertained. People ask, how are you using AI for SquareKicker? Well, to write silly sentences while people wait for loading scripts. That's how we use AI.
It's the most important use of AI so far. I think.
Absolutely. I mean, who else is going to come up with these exciting things? Connecting Wi-Fi ways to performance of dance for your joy of classes. So yeah, there's just some great things. You'll see that it might take a while based on the size of your template. The thing that takes the longest part of this whole process is actually installing those images. So obviously each one of those images from the template is being uploaded to that site. You don't have to wait for the contributor access for your 24, 48, or 72 hours, but you might have to make a couple minutes for the template to actually install on your site. So
this is where you hope during a live demo it doesn't take too long. Otherwise, we're going to have to find a lot of things to chat about.
Or fail altogether, and it's not going to work. So it should just work properly.
Never.
Yeah. Hannah, do you have any good jokes to tell while this is happening?
I am very jokeless, actually. I don't know that I have very many funny bones in me.
No, that's too bad. I had some inappropriate ones, which I can't really share, so I won't share those.
You really can't.
Do you have anything else to add while we're waiting here? Maybe you guys have any questions we can even look at while we're going through there. Feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah, I was just having a look at the poll, which is really interesting. I can see a lot of you have kind of mixed feelings about using templates for your client projects, and I think that's great. It's awesome that you're here, and we're really excited to have those kind of diversity of opinions. Really excited to hear your thoughts. I know it's now installed, but I'm going to keep chatting about this poll for a minute because I'm seeing lots of really interesting things. People feeling worried that it won't be custom enough for their client. Someone feels like it's faster to design from scratch, which we understand as well. Sometimes that can be the case. Not sure how to price a template-based project. We're going to come onto that in a little bit. So that's awesome. Keep your ears open for that. They haven't found templates that suit their style. I'd be really interested to see if you've had a look through the SquareKicker store. One of the things we've been really excited about is like the diversity of different types of templates in there. So if you're having a look in there and you're still not sure that there's something that kind of suits what you like to work with, let us know because we would love to pass that on to the creators, or maybe you want to be a template designer yourself.
Can I add something to that? Because what I have found when I use templates to make pretty much all the websites for my clients in the past, I started with a template that looked like I could see the vision of what it could be. So even though it wasn't necessarily my style, it was a template. You can customize a template just like you can customize any website. So if you have a brand in mind, a style in mind that you want to go for, you can take the bones of that website, that bones of that template, and make it your own, just as you would with a blank template. But now you have, like, you saved yourself 10 or 20 hours to get to that point before you start making to that
like
next
a good
step.
Bit of structure. And there's one more point there that I just wanted to point out, which is that there are a few people that don't want their clients to think that they can't provide a good design. So I'm really glad that you're here because that is obviously something we're really passionate about, and hopefully we'll give you some answers for that today. Hey, our install has happened. Do you want to keep walking through this demo?
Yeah, right. So what's happened here is essentially my template is now installed. So if you've ever used WordPress or Shopify or something like that, this would be a similar process. Your template is available for you to use to build your website. So we're going to hit learn more, and it's going to tell you a little bit how to use your template. So adding pages to your template is the same way that you would add pages to your site with Squarespace. There are pages and sections inside of Squarespace that you would use, and the same thing, there are pages and sections inside of your template that you'd use in the same way. It's natively built straight into your Squarespace website, so you don't have to worry about having a page, not duplicating it or not breaking it. It's actually just built into the system as we go. So
I think one of the things that's really exciting about that as well is when you pass that off to your clients, you're not having to explain to them these two different processes of here's all this custom code sitting here, or here's this different way of having a template. It's quite intuitive for them of if they know how to add a section or a page in Squarespace, they can do the same for themselves with that template.
Yeah, we've had people come to us who have purchased templates and now they're buying a new one, but they have templates with I have all these demo pages that I'm not allowed to touch and all this custom code that I don't know what to do with it. And I've had to tweak some extra custom code, but now I don't know what to touch. And it's really scary because every time I add a new page, something breaks. And so all these weird kind of confusing things that they need to happen in order to make a normal template, those all disappear and they just become a part of the Squarespace building environment. So the next bit is just explaining to people how to use SquareKicker, which is just an intuitive piece on it's just basically part of your ecosystem as well. So in the same way, instead of adding custom code, you would have a slider that you could rotate a block. So that is a little bit of that. And now we have the template to go from. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to actually just add a page and add a section to your site. So I've got my all my template pages here. So these aren't pages essentially. This is the template that's installed and there's all the pages available. Now let's say I have my template here, sorry, my existing website, and I want to refresh this. So I'm going to go to a blank site or a page, and I can just start from the ground up and say, well, maybe I don't want to start with a blank page. Maybe I'll start with an actual page. So you're just going to head over to the plus icon, go to page layouts. Page layouts obviously have all the Squarespace's page layouts with the categories. The top right corner here is templates. This is really fun because you can click on the templates button and then you have all the template pages. Imagine kind of like save sections, but they're save pages that you can use on your template. So I'll use this landing page here and click plus or to add it in. And now I have a home copy page. I'm just going to leave it as is. And now I have my page added straight into my website. I think, okay, well, this is looking pretty good, but what if I don't really want this section here? That's not something that my client wants, not something I want, but I want a different section on another page. Well, super easy. You just come in here and let's just remove that altogether. And then just go add a different section. And then you can add your own, of course, make it your own bespoke, or you can click into the template section as soon as Squarespace loads.
You'll notice there as well that the Squarespace sections have inherited those site styles. So they've pulled fully through into your site. So straight away, you're working with this kind of cohesive ecosystem.
So click on templates, and now I have all these sections here that I can choose. Like, which one am I going to add? You can see that was the one I just removed, but I don't want this one. I'm actually going to put in this one here. This is a nice kind of lead-in landing page. So I add this in there, and then now I have my nice section. Now, of course, you can go through and change your content, change your text, change your images. But the fun thing, of course, is you can just go straight into your site styles, and you can just update your color palette. So let's just go into here and pick something different like this one. And now my whole template is starting to take shape and start to look like my client site or my site. And to go next further, you can just jump in into SquareKicker, which is already built in, and then you can just do some cool things like scrolling effects, and let's just do some opacity and have it fade in now. Oh, look at that. How easy that was. Now we got a little bit more of customization to the template I just bought for my client. And pretty soon it starts to not look like the template you bought, but your website that you're going to use for your client. But you've got there, as you see, how long it took me to build that page? A click. So you actually have the ability to do that so much faster and easier for your clients. So that's a little bit of a sneak peek on actually what you get when you buy a template and how to use your template.
Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight on how easy it is for you to use, and how it also takes away some of that stress of like, oh, what happens if my client dives in and deletes a bit of the template? Or I know there's been some of those hesitations in the past. So those are things we've thought really carefully through, and we've thought about how people will want to use these templates in the real world without passing things to their client. So it's pretty foolproof. Nick, how would I talk to my client about templates? You know, we heard in the poll that there's some people that are kind of hesitant on, I guess, explaining templates to their clients, or maybe feeling like that is an okay way to design. What would you say about that?
I'm just going to put our faces back up because we're actually quite small now.
Yay.
Bring it back up. Hi again. Yeah, that's a great question. So I went through this journey myself when I was using templates in my own business. So every single client project I came in, I basically said, look, I build websites for you, but I start from a template. And the reason for that is it saves you money, because if you go to someone who's starting from scratch, it's going to be more money for you, but ultimately you're going to get the same outcome. What they don't really care about is how you get there. They care about the money and the time it takes to get there. They don't care about your imposter syndrome of how good enough you are. If they really cared and they said, I actually need something really custom, really bespoke, and that I can't see or find anywhere that you need to create, that's going to be great. That's going to be a fully custom job that you can maybe pull off and do. But I would guess that most clients that you maybe run into don't have those same requirements. They want a website that's affordable, professional, that fits their brand, and that looks great, and that you've made it your own. So that's what I would say a template can be really good at doing. And what I often do is I go and look at the client, I get the brief, and I say, what is it you're looking for? What's your outcome want to be? Are there any examples of websites out that you like, your style? They give me a list of websites that they like, and then I go hunting for a template. I go hunting around and I start looking for the templates. I think this could be a great option. And I kind of favorite that. Pro tip, we're actually coming out with a really exciting feature for the store, which is favoriting. So you can go through the template store and favorite a template to come back to it later. But in the meantime, in this case,
and when we say coming out soon, like really soon.
Really soon. It's looking great.
About that one.
It's gonna be fun. So you can go through the store now and you can heart and favorite individual templates. There's over 90, I think, now, and they're coming out every couple of weeks. There's a new template or two coming out. There might even be 2 coming out next week. So anyway, stay tuned for that. So you go through and heart those, favorite them. And once you kind of narrowed it down, like, oh, there's about 2 or 3 templates I'm kind of thinking that the client can use, I present a quote to a client and saying, cool, I can build your website with one of these 3 templates. And here's what it would look like. Here's the cost of the template. I give them the options to go look at the template, to hunt around and say, ooh, yeah, this looks cool. This feature looks nice. I like how this is laid out, or I don't like how this is laid out, or maybe I like this, but maybe that feature is cool. I think people get excited when they see the fancy things that are hard to pull off, like the really cool intricate scrolling effects, or some of the features that have overlapping, and just the stuff that takes a lot of time to pull together, that we understand and know how much time the designers have make to put those together, and how much time we've reviewed it and gone back and forth to put these down to this tiniest detail. So you can be sure that these are premium templates. They're not going to be just slapped together. And so when they see that, they see the quote that I put next to it on how long would it take me to build this? How long would it take me to take your brand, meet with you, think about your call to actions, what text fits in the right place, how your content flows, what images you should use in the right place, what sections to put in the certain layouts, because the templates are great and the pages are set up in a way that could be broadcast a certain way that page could be displayed. But you can build your own page from all those sections. So you can start with a different hero section, a different banner section, a different footer section. So you can really make your template, rather your website, your own from those sections
and mixing
tweak it.
Squarespace
Totally.
sections in as well. You know, it can be like 2 from the template, 1 from Squarespace, one for you, 1 for me.
Heaps of different stuff. And then you can make your own custom one in the middle with SquareKicker. You can do lots of cool, interesting things. We'll show you in a moment that some templates we've seen look nothing like the template that they bought. Like someone took we probably don't have this one to show, but someone took a barbershop template and they turned it into a search and rescue template where there's a helicopter flying over and like, where's the guy cutting the person's hair? Like what happened to that image? But the whole template is, you can see, resemblances of what it used to look like.
The structure's there, right? And I think Michael just put a really interesting comment in the chat about like sometimes you get designer block, and it's really hard to push past that, creatively. And so that is another great space where you've got that framework to work in. You can add all those great custom elements from your client.
So I present that quote to them. Here's 3 templates I think could work. This is how much those templates cost. And here's my time, 10 plus hours to build it, maybe some customization with SquareKicker. I'll do a few extra custom things on the side to make it that bit of extra lift. There's some project management mixed into there too. And there's, of course, the launch. And I present that as an hourly rate, as an estimate. This is how I've done things in the past. And this is an estimate. I say, if you want more on top of this, if you come back for the 15th iteration, I'm going to let you know that you've actually reached the point of no return. Sometimes a fixed rate is actually better because you can say, I can do 20 hours, but then the faster I get, it's going to take me 15 and then 10, but I'm not producing any less quality. I'm just getting better at what I'm doing. So produce that hourly rate project or that project there with the transparency of how much the template costs. And then you can either get them to build it, or you can build it, buy it yourself, import it into your costs for invoicing them, and then present them with a website that has been customized with the template as a framework. And the coolest thing is now they have access as a client to use all those same template features. So when there is an update or a broken code in Squarespace that SquareKicker has patched for, you don't get that with custom code, that you have to fix it yourself. When there are exciting new updates for the template, that client will receive those updates. So all these cool things that the client will just get with that template allows them to be successful when you hand off to that website. So I think every single time I've made a template website for a template, it's been seamless in a sense that the client doesn't really notice or care. In fact, they look at the template they bought and they look at the template that they have at the website, and it doesn't really look the same. Like there's some symbol like references, but ultimately it's theirs because the brand is actually what really matters, not the bones of how it was made.
Yeah. Awesome. We do have a little freebie that we're going to be sending to you after this, which is kind of that and captured in a bit of a PDF form so that you can have a walkthrough. I think we're just going to grab a little sample of it up here. So this is put together as just an idea or a sample really of some of the things that Nick has just talked through of how you could present this to your clients. So it's a guide to presenting templates to your clients. So we're going to talk about like how to have that initial project discussion with them, different ways you might be able to approach that with them, how you want to handle that on your side. Like Nick said, sometimes it's a matter of letting them loose in the template store and saying, go pick one. Or you might have some of your favorites that you've put into your little favorite section and you want to just show those to them or pick them out a few for their particular project. So there's multiple ways you can do that. We've chucked some sample scripts in there as well. So these are just something to hopefully give you a little bit of a kick in the right direction. If this is something that you end up being excited for doing, it might help to facilitate some of those conversations. So keep an eye on your inbox. This will be coming to you after the webinar.
Yeah, I'm really excited because this is an actual website as an example that I've used in real time. I've pulled from the archives and put on here. So this just shows you like, these are like, literally my trade secrets, if you will, of how I've actually used and built my web design agency. So this website example here is just something that you could take and use if you want to for free. It's obviously, you can change your hourly rate, how much hours you do various things, add in your own custom things. Maybe you're doing photography, imagery, SEO, whatever it is that your service is, and plug it into here. But the template being the highlight saying, look, we're just going to use a template to build your project. Here's how much it costs. And I think you'll be surprised in how much clients just go, cool, that's what it is. And actually it's transparent. You don't have to hide the fact that using a template. That's not the plan here. Is actually to show them transparency to help you be more successful and them save money and time.
Definitely. When Nick and I were talking about this topic early on, should we stop sharing that? You were also talking about the different ways that you'll work both as a freelancer, Nick, and in a design agency, and actually using templates in both of those scenarios. Totally. And you were really surprised, I think, in the big flashy agency, how often they were using templates. Yeah.
So in this Shopify world where I kind of worked as an agency, they actually use templates all the time as well. But they took a template and they said, cool, we've looked on the template store on Shopify, we found a template we like, and then they went to like Figma and they took that whole template and they kind of plugged it in and they looked at redesigned it and then they presented it and then they gave that to a web developer. So a lot of different moving pieces. There was a developer, a designer, a copywriter, project manager. There was a lot of different people in this piece, but the framework of this whole project boiled down to which template they were going to start with. And that really surprised me because I thought, hold on, we're a full agency. Why do we need a template? And I go, well, if we did this would cost the client $30,000. They don't have that money. They only have 10. So why would we give them a similar output for 20 grand more? If we use a template, that saves us that much time. So that gave me confidence going, oh, as a freelancer, this was actually okay. So I could keep using this in my practice as well.
I think that's a really good catch there, is so often we end up focusing these things on our side, on ourselves. Like, are we good enough if we do this? How do people think about me as a designer? But actually that approach of going like, no, what serves my client best? Is this costing them more? Is this getting them the better outcome? One of the things that I did in a previous life before I did this job was I was a wedding dress designer. So I made custom wedding dresses. This is before I had toddlers running around my house, because that became not a fun game with a bunch of white silk around. But one thing that has always really stuck in my mind was this particular client that I had. And as a wedding dress designer, I would draw up these designs and I would give them kind of the best concept I could of the way that their dress would look. But you're building it from scratch. So you can't put it on their body. You can't show them how it feels. You can't give them that real understanding. And some clients were great at that. They totally understood. That's fine. They wanted that full bespoke experience. And you might find that with templates as well. Some people want that full bespoke experience, and that's fine. That's clients. But others do struggle a little bit. And this particular client that I had really struggled with knowing what that dress was going to look like on her. And she ended up picking a design that I tried very hard to steer her away from, because with my years of experience, because I went, I don't think you're going to like this. I don't think this is going to be an outcome you're going to be excited about. But no, that was the dream dress. And so we built the dream dress. And then we got to one of the first fittings where you've got most of the dress together. It's pretty solid. And she hated it and she felt awful and it just wasn't what she dreamed at all. And so we went back to that design that I had first tried to encourage her to do. And I think what like that reminded me of is sometimes it's really hard for clients, especially if they aren't creative. And sometimes when we're in creative industries, we kind of have that assumption that everyone can visualize the same way that we can. Everyone can understand the same things that we can when we see those designs on paper. Some clients can't do that. And so if you're sitting there trying to describe to them what their website might look like, looking at some samples, saying I can take a little of this and a little of that, some clients find that really, really hard to visualize. And so actually what you end up with is an outcome that they're not really excited about, that isn't what they imagined. And you end up in this constant stream of back and forth revisions where you're just kind of getting heaps more feedback and changing more things. And so I think that's where a template can actually be really freeing for a client because they can kind of see a lot of what their site might look like. They can imagine themselves in that space. So it can be something that's really exciting for a client. I wanted to show you guys a couple of samples that people have done of taking some particular templates from the template store. I'm trying to drive this and talk at the same time. Clearly not so multitasky as Nick.
How about you talk and I'll drive?
Thank you. So they've taken some of these templates and turned them into these beautiful websites for their clients. So we've got the ski template. This is made by an amazing designer in France, Joseph, and his team there with Square Designs. This is a beautiful template and it's been really, really popular. You can see why, right? It's gorgeous, it's classic, but it's got these fun pops. Now, this is, awesome, the live run through. So it's got lots of movement, like super appealing. And you can see how this would fit. It's obviously a restaurant template. But if we click over to the next one, you'll see what someone has done with this. So they've taken it and made it their photography website. So again, you can kind of see the structure, the bare bones are there, but it looks totally different. They've put their own personality into it. It looks exactly like they hope that their website will present for their business. So that's really exciting. You'll find sometimes people are really happy to take a template that's from a different industry. So here we've got like restaurant to photographer. And other times where people are going to find that a little bit more of a stretch. So one of the things we built in at SquareKicker is those kind of industry tabs. So if you find a client that's maybe a little bit harder to imagine what they look like in that wedding dress, you might want to take them straight to the tab that suits their industry. They're a nonprofit, great, go to the nonprofit tab. And there'll be stuff there that they'll be able to picture themselves in straight away. If they are giving you a little bit more kind of creative freedom or they're really good at visualizing themselves, you might want to take them into some of the other areas where they can kind of see this change that they might be able to make and look at those kind of different structures. This is another great example. So this is mined by Michael from Vative Creative, a fantastic designer.
Who's actually on the call. He's never seen this either, so this is exciting.
Hey, that's awesome. Hi, Michael. I hope you enjoy seeing your template in the wild. So this is a fantastic template. If you want to click into the preview, Nick, we can see gorgeous, right? Super sleek. Very tech heavy though, like feels very much like a, I don't know, Apple website or something. Very clean, very sophisticated, very modern. And then
can I just show the headphones, because the headphones are next level. And we actually had to ask Michael like how this thing was even made. And my browser just froze, so that's even better. So hopefully that doesn't break. Okay, just the browser. Good. Everything's crashed. Are we still live?
Oh no.
Let's just refresh. Maybe it's coming back. Has the internet dropped out? Can you guys all hear us still?
You can hear us still? Awesome.
So
we seem to have frozen.
Something happened here.
That template turned into a beautiful church website. So they had taken that technology website, turned it into a nonprofit. So just you can see straight away how you can use the bones of these templates to give yourself a real good kicking off place for that. I think we'll just keep going. Otherwise, it'll be refreshing forever.
If I get something, I'll come back to it. I'm getting the spinning wheel of death on everything now, so that's good.
Awesome. We will just keep going. So you can see there, like hopefully with templates. Clients can understand those outcomes faster. There'll be fewer revisions for you. No mock-ups needed. I know a lot of people now are spending quite a bit of time trying to mock up in Figma to give their clients that understanding, to give them that visual picture that they're looking for. But hopefully this helps you kind of skip a bit of that step, save you a bit more time, save your client time. Without templates, there's, like I said, that more back and forth. Maybe they haven't fully understood what you were saying, that vision. It's harder to kind of bring that scale into your business. It's costing you time and it's costing your client money. And it can be a little bit of a frustrating process. I'm sure having worked with clients, you will all understand what that looks like.
Cool. I just want to make that we're still online because our browser shows us frozen.
We're good.
We're good now? All right, good.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, so I guess we'll finish up with a couple of wee things, and then we're going to get to some questions. And that is that templates can feel a bit like cheating. I think that's a question. It comes from, I would hate to say this lightly, but it's an insecurity question. Like, people would assume that, like, when I start out making websites, I didn't go to design school. I taught myself how to code. I'd never made a website before. And now I'm making websites for clients and charging them money. And I kept thinking, someday people are going to figure out that I don't actually know what I'm doing. And so using a template was like, I was intimidated because I didn't want people to find out. Because what if they think, oh, you're not a real designer? And I was already battling with this anyways, because when I told people I built on Squarespace, they're like, oh, why are you building on a real website platform? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, Squarespace is like for DIY people. Like, surely you would use like a real professional platform. Why are you using like a beginner one? Are you not a real designer? And so I think you might have already have some of this coming with you anyway. So if this is you and you feel like maybe templates are a way of you feel like you're cheating, I would push back and say, actually, it's probably more of an insecurity thing maybe than actually what people are really thinking about you. And they're not necessarily replacements to the design. They're actually accelerators. So you can still be a great designer and use a template and actually take that to the next level. Taking those templates to the next level allows you to be more creative, because now you can focus on the intricate details that make the content pop, and focus on the content hierarchy and the SEO and the way the call to actions work. All those really challenging aspects of making a website that sometimes get by the wayside because we're so focused on design that maybe sometimes the content and the call to actions and the colors are way more important. And even the images, for that matter. We all know that images make a website, right? The content is king. So focusing on the right images, the right content, the right colors, the right hierarchy, the right flow is actually what really makes the website work really well. The second thing is, well, clients won't pay for a template. Maybe they will pay for a custom job because, of course, they can do it themselves, right? Why would they come to me if they could just buy a template and use it themselves? I would also think that actually kicking back and saying that people aren't coming to you because they can't necessarily do that themselves. They probably actually just don't have the time to do it themselves. They're already working as a photographer or a architect or a lawyer, whatever it is that they're doing, and they're so fixated and busy on the thing that they're doing that building a website is so much time. They don't have energy for that. They don't have time for that. So even if they could buy a template, they don't have time to put that together. They're probably going to buy a template and it'll just sit on the shelf for 2 years and they're going, I should have just hired someone to do this for me. So saying that they won't pay for a template is kind of like saying, well, they're not paying to use you a designer because why are you using Squarespace? Anyone can use Squarespace. But as we know as designers, that's not the case. They need to know how the images work, what images to put in, what content to put in, how to publish a website, how to worry about SEO on your pages, how to index your pages, good navigation. There's so many intricate details.
It's about that full experience, isn't it? Not just the starting point. You know, we can get so fixated on like that first point, but the client, like we keep saying, is looking for that end outcome. They're looking for that full experience that you provide, and you bring so much to that, more than just that starting point.
They don't really care how you start. They care about what you have in the end. And so if they look at it and say, it looks just like the template, they're not, I promise you, they're not going to be thinking, ooh, that looks too close to the template. Can you make it different? They're going to think, ooh, does this work for me? Am I proud about this website to showcase to my clients or my colleagues and my coworkers? I think that's the outcome they're really hoping for. And of course, is it helping them book more clients? Is it helping them sell? No one's going to be coming to their website and going, ooh, I think I saw this template somewhere. They're going to think, wow, this looks great, professional. I'm getting the information I need. So thinking about the end project rather than the upfront is probably really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. we keep kind of talking about these benefits to your client as well, and it's so much more affordable for your client to work from a template. If you look at those kind of breakdowns of how many hours it would take for you to build that out, so you can think of this as a real benefit to your client, and then hopefully saving you time. So you can either take on more clients if you want. Maybe you can produce more websites through the year, and you can scale your business that way. Or if you want to, you could just take a trip to the beach instead. So, take the same amount of clients and bring in that same amount of money. It can also be a really great way to scale your business up if maybe potentially you want to bring on a junior, and taking a template and letting them work from that is a really great way for you to be able to start scaling out your team. You can bring that consistency into the websites that your team produces by having these bases. So there's lots of different ways that you can use templates to kind of produce those really great outcomes for your clients, save them a little bit of money, and also scale up your business. So it should be win-wins and wins. Awesome. We have got a little gift for you guys. So thank you for sticking out with us this far. I hope you can still see us all. There is a coupon code that we want to share with you guys. So there's 35% off. If you're interested in using a SquareKicker template for the next 24 hours, you can use this code to get 35% off. So maybe you're interested in testing out this theory. Maybe it's sparked some ideas for you, or you want to get started. Hopefully this gives you a good way to be able to jump in there at a really affordable price.
Can I just mention one thing on that? So if you are a creator here, or if you understand, or if you're in line to be a creator, you might understand that there's actually a commission rate for the creator. So it's a partnership rate. So we split the commission with the creator. We try to give the majority of that commission to the creator because they're the authors, they're the creators of that. We want to help run the business. So all the things that we do with our commission, we use to kind of help sell the templates. So 35% is our commission. So we're basically giving away we're not making any money out of this. So we want to give all the 100% of this royalty goes straight to the creator. So just knowing you're supporting that cause, if you will.
Definitely. Yeah. By purchasing templates, you're supporting other designers in the Squarespace ecosystem, which is really cool. Brilliant. All right, let's get into some questions. Hopefully you guys have found that Q&A panel and can chuck those in there. I'm also going to pop up another little poll for you, just to finish us off here as well. So if you wouldn't mind jumping into that, and I can see that we've got some questions. Apologies, I'm going to be looking to the side because this is the screen that is currently working. Cool. So someone says, how many times can I use each SquareKicker template? For example, can I buy it once and use it multiple times, or do I have to purchase for every use? It's a great question.
Should I answer that? So it is a single purchase per website. So each website template that you purchase is connecting to a single website template. So that's multiple ways, but that's also a way to protect the creator so people can't purchase a template and then resell it multiple times for each one of your clients. So it's a single template purchase for a single website usage. So if you want to use the same template again, you just go and buy another of the same template and connect it to the same client. So it's actually working into the budget of a build.
Yeah, definitely. And then with that as well, with that tethering, it means that we are able to serve those updates like you mentioned earlier. So if Squarespace makes updates, that is still connected through to your client's site. So you're not having to go back and fix all of those manually. We'll be able to serve those through to your client. Cool. The next question here is, are you planning to continue to take on more template designers, or are your applications at full capacity right now? No, we're absolutely taking on more template designers. We're really excited to keep working on that. We are pushing new ones through every week. Keep an eye on your emails if you are on the creator waitlist. We're really excited to build this space. So we are trying to bring as many people on board as we can. If you haven't had an email from us, and particularly if you're a SquareKicker extension user, because we have prioritized those as the first port of call coming through the waitlist, and you haven't had an email from me, send me another email, send it to support@squarekicker.com and let me know, because if you have unsubscribed from my mailing list, we can no longer send you those invitations. So that might have been what's happened. If you feel like you should have moved through the wait list, or you've been on there for ages, do flick us another email and let me know, and I can chase down that list for you. But yeah, we're very excited to have more designers come into this ecosystem to build this kind of for the whole benefits of the Squarespace ecosystem.
And the last couple of weeks, we've onboarded 7 new creators. So really excited to see their new templates come out, because each creator builds 2, 3, 4 templates that already expands the store. And there's so much different diversity that comes through.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Katie. Cool. Sander has asked, is it possible to create a custom template for my own use rather than buying one so I don't have to start from scratch for new clients?
Quick answer is no, not yet. There is something we've explored and talked about, but at the moment it is essentially the creators who get onboarded, who build those templates, get listed on the store for use, but there's not a template you can make for yourself and kind of have like your kind of saved template in your background to use for your own build.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. And then one more, we've still got another minute or two, so if you do have a question, feel free to chuck it in. Is with SquareKicker, can you make your own templates or can we only purchase templates? Same question.
Same
again.
question.
Hopefully
yeah.
we have
that is a great, interesting outcome though, and we can totally understand the use cases for that because you want to develop things faster. So what we're trying to do is actually leverage more heavily into Squarespace when they allow to kind of, when you want to use rapid building, duplicating websites, how does that work? When you want to save sections, those kind of things. So how can we leverage some of those resources and work with Squarespace so we can utilize some of those shortcuts that they've put in? And I think they're actually working on and prioritizing pro users this year. So they're working at ways for you guys to be able to build those websites faster and you guys to start with some sort of starting position. And we love to integrate SquareKicker into some of those starting positions so you can use it in your own business.
Definitely. Awesome. We've got another one here. It says there's a wide range of prices for the templates. Does that reflect a difference in functionality, pages, template creator experience, or something else? Awesome question. To start off with the template creator experience, no, it doesn't reflect that. Basically, as far as the template creators go, like we said, we've got this wait list. We then have applications for those template creators. So we kind of vet them right from the start. So we're making sure that anyone that's creating a SquareKicker template has a really good understanding of Squarespace and of how to use the SquareKicker tools so that we can kind of guarantee that these templates are coming out at a really premium quality. So they are always going to have that premium quality regardless of the price. So the price is very much reflective just of the content that is in there. So how many pages, how many sections?
Yeah, so there's a minimum amount of sections that need to be required here with each pricing tier. So there's only 3 pricing tiers. So there's the $1.99, $3.99, and $5.99. And so inside of that, there'll be minimum pages and then minimum sections to reach each tier. So it's really the size and the amount of content that gets created. It doesn't matter of how many scrolling effects they use or how many hover effects or how many different cool animations. That will obviously help to go into selling the template, but that doesn't impact the price of that template.
Cool. And we've got one last question here. Oh, they both come up. Yeah, awesome. So as awesome it is to buy a template, what about SquareKicker assets? Would you consider creators being able to create asset designs and purchases? Oh, this one keeps going, sorry. Like a button pack or a scroll effect or a hover effect, etc., so that they could buy these to fit a specific build. This is from our friend Michael.
From Michael. Oh, hi, Michael. Yeah, so this has come up a few times with individuals who want to sell things specifically. Not as many people who want to necessarily buy them. What we wanted to encourage is that the same thing exists for the plugin market. They might have this really cool effect where you click on a slider and this cool transition happens. I just hit the microphone because I'm Italian, so I'm just flipping around the place, which is like, oh, this is so cool. And then they go to another part of the page that has a different animation, which has like a fade in, which looks nothing like it. So you're actually drawing on 2 very inconsistent styles within the website, making the brand confused. And so if you have a hover effect on a button, that a hover effect on an image is a different hover effect, you actually have a really inconsistent brand on a website. And that doesn't go well for me as a designer because I don't want to give a client a website that has a weird rainbow slider. It's almost like when some 10-year-old discovered PowerPoint for the first time and they go, ooh, transitions, and they put on a different transition for every page. It's like, oh, just because they're all there doesn't mean you need to have them. And if we put a bunch of different packs of buttons and images and sliders, and before it just looks like a Frankenstein because it doesn't look like a cohesive style. So the templates are a way to package up all those into one ecosystem of content that looks and flows across the whole site. So it looks consistent. If we give the ability for people to actually purchase individual packs, that encourages that kind of messy Frankenstein, which we don't want to empower those people to make ugly websites. So not that the plugin will be ugly or that the the button or the pack would be ugly, but actually how it's used, implemented, wouldn't be very helpful and encouraging.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for that one, Michael. Great. Thanks everyone so much for joining us. There is that last poll. Hopefully you can see that. I would love it. It would be a huge favor to us if you would go in and just answer the question on that last poll. I think we've probably pretty clearly described how excited we are about this potential opportunity. We're really excited about building this ecosystem for professional designers. It is what we live and breathe here every day at SquareKicker, and the whole team is really excited about what we're able to do to provide more tools for helping professional designers be able to work better, be able to live the lives that they want to live, whether that means scaling your business, whether it means having a little bit more time off, bringing people into your team, whatever it is that you want to do with your business, we want to help provide ways to serve you with that. So I'm hoping that today has given you a little glimpse of how templates might be something that you could potentially integrate into those systems for you.
Yeah, and I'll say one last thing, and then you can finish off with Hannah. The thing I'm really passionate about is that this whole way of designers using templates on other platforms has existed for years and years. I've used it, you've probably used it, and it exists elsewhere. And there's probably a lot of acceptance around that being okay. It hasn't really adopted into Squarespace, and I know why. And I think it's because as a Squarespace designer, you're already using Squarespace, and you almost kind of feel like maybe this isn't a professional platform. So there's already maybe some insecurity there. And so I think it has more to do with our insecurity to produce a good quality website rather than the client being, wanting a certain type of website that you can only make, that you're the only one that can create this unique vision, or they've come to you with a Figma design saying, can you make this website? And ultimately, if that's even the case, to do that on Squarespace is going to be a $10,000 plus job anyways. I've built them and they're very, very hard and tricky because you can't even use Squarespace to build some of the elements they put together. So the other side of that is that, yeah, you can look at a template. People do it all the time. They say, wow, there's this really cool effect on that template that has this thing that scrolls in, and there's another thing that's sticky, and there's another thing that kind of flies in, and there's a text over. Like, how did they make that? Can you teach me? I'm like, well, we could if we made a whole course on how to make that thing. Michael from Creative Creative, by the way, has made a course on how he makes templates and how he makes design. You should sign up. It's very exciting. But the intricate details of how long that has taken to make, you can essentially just skip the line and go straight to there to get that. And then you can tweak it and you can customize it. You can turn off a few features. You can add a few features. So you've actually saved yourself 2-3 hours to make that design and experimenting with it without having to create it yourself from scratch. So there's a really easy way to jump ahead of the queue and actually start that process early to make the few tweaks to make it you as a designer, making that really bespoke and interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Remember, templates aren't a shortcut. They are a strategic tool. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you all being here. Do keep an eye on your emails for that bonus guide. There'll be another copy of the code in there for you if you do want to take advantage of that 35% off. If you have any more questions, if we haven't answered it, or you go away and you ponder this a little bit and you want to talk some more, please do reach out. We always love to hear from you. We're really excited to keep building this. And to do that well, we need to know what it is that you need, what your hesitancies are, what you're excited about, and how we can help. So don't ever be afraid to shoot us an email. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining, and we will see you again next time.
Cool. See you, everybody.